Murray Walker once said, with half the race gone, we still have half the race yet to go. Well, with half the season gone, we have, you guessed it, half the season yet to go. We are at the midway point, and appropriately, we kick off a new year here in the land of the rising sun in Suzuka. Though the points won't reset, this could be a chance for a fresh start for some drivers and an opportunity to overturn a points deficit. Will anyone make a resurgence? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch Round 8 of the Autobahn Motorcar Group's Sports Car Challenge. And you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth covering the prototype and GTLM classes is Bill Soup Zahn. Keeping us up on the GTD class is Sean Ambrose. Behind the scenes is our director, the Dr. Amjad Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Sean, Suzuka is more commonly known for being the closing round of a championship, but today it gets stuck in the middle. Why don't you tell us about it?
Yoyugata Norese fan, located here in Suzuka City, Japan this evening. This track opened in 1962, folks. It did start as a test track for Honda. Yes, Mr. Honda had a track here and also made a big movie about a very, very large dinosaur. Anyway, now the variety of court types here, a few high-speed portions, and a figure-8 layout that offered more equal amount of left and right turns made it perfect as a test track, but very, very challenging as a racetrack. Now, it hosted Formula One in 1963 and 64 before they went to Fuji. Now, they modified this track several times. In fact, in 1983, the Casio Triangle was added, and the Degner curve was made into two corners instead of one long curve. Degner 1 and Degner 2 both stand there now. F1 returned in 87, and Suzuka hosted the Japanese Grand Prix. All but 2 years since then. Now, but the best way to get an idea of what it's like to get around Suzuka is to hop on board the GSRC lap guide here and go around the 17 turns, 5.8 kilometers, 3.6 mile track that is here, located in Japan.
All right, we've got Kevin Brown behind the wheel of the GSRC BMW, so let's do a lap around Suzuka. Heading down into turn 1, it's a fast kink and bleeds straight into turn 2. Going too wide into here will be difficult and dangerous. The draft may give you an opportunity, but someone will need to back out or else it's bad news. Lots of banking here in 2 to really carry your speed. After that, you're sent straight into the S's where the line is absolutely critical to a good lap time. With each corner flowing into the next, it's all about setting up for the following turn. Perhaps the most important of these is the final right-hander where you need to hug the right side to allow yourself a good run into Dunlop Corner. In a GT3 car, it's flat out all the way up to Degner 1, so getting a bad exit out of the S's could leave you vulnerable. Plus, you'll see Degner 1 here is tight and fast. It's another corner that's risky to attempt going through too wide. It also leads straight into Degner 2. It's the slower corner, but more heavily embanked and rewards drivers who can carry their speed over the apex. Now we've got a little kink leading into the hairpin. This is a potential passing zone, but predicting your opponent's line can sometimes be difficult, and drivers are often caught out by a sudden defensive move. Regardless, coming out of the hairpin is another place where a good exit can be extremely important. Once again, we're going to be flat to the floor all the way through turn 12. As you reach the end of it, you'll want to drift the car to the right, set up for spoon curve. This double apexer has a fast entry and a difficult threshold. Cars spinning off after going over the limit is not an uncommon sight. And just to pile on more pressure, it dumps the car onto the backstretch. Once again, the car behind will be catching your slipstream, so once you're confident you can get the power down, you better do it. Like most important turns on this track, it leads to a fast corner where being side by side can be extra dangerous. The infamous 130R requires incredible commitment and accuracy to hit your marks. And as you exit, you'll pull the car across the track and get ready for the Casio Triangle. This is another place where passes are common, but with it being a chicane, when anyone fights back, you're both going to have to give each other room and respect to come out intact. From here, we simply power down around the final corner since we've hit the pit straight, and as long as you've managed to keep it on the black stuff and pointed forwards, you've completed the lap around Suzuka.
There's a relatively long lap around here at Suzuka, and, well, we're half the season away from the finish, which means we need to get up to speed on the points. And, Bill, what's the update over there?
Here we go. I got a lot of information, so it gets right to it. Let's go to the prototypes. Where Privateer Cy Andre and John Ulmer for Autobahn West both had problems last time out at Laguna Seca. Ulmer will drop his 8th place result. Andre will keep his 4th, so that is why the top spot swap. After a very slow start, Daniel Gralti for SRN. Now remember that team, SRN, has top 5'd his last 4 events. It's been expected, and it finally happened. Alex Simona got his first career win at Laguna Seca. The Clan AOD driver is the, get this, 6th different winner in this class this season. That's 6 different winners in 7 races. TMC Carbon's Mark Schindel podiumed in his first 2 races, but has stayed on the linoleum ever since. Where's Bob the Blade? Well, after sitting out rounds 5 and 6, the defending champion Robert Tinsey returned to post a 3rd last time out. He sits just off the graphic in 6th. Let's go to the GTLMs, where the mantra, Jeffrey Ooms, is in what can only be called a winning trance. 4 checkered flags in his last 5 events, not counting a did not start at Mosport. The AOD Racing driver's worst result was a 3rd in the season opener. Autobahn West Billy Smith's only win this season came at Mosport when Ooms was absent. A pair of no-shows has defending champion Stephen McGarvey for TMC Carbon burning both his drop races, hence the 0 pocket points and the surrendering of 2nd place to Smith. Privateer Paul, oh my darling, got a 2nd at Laguna Seca. Ryan Huff, a 4th. Huff races for, here we go again, SRN. The only active driver to beat Ooms on the track is Jason Gerard, doing that at Coda in round 5. Let's go to the GTDs. Working on a 3-race winning streak is Renair Racing's team's Bradley Haley. The Comet has appeared in all 7 events with 5 total wins on a collision course with the class championship. When the Comet tailed off at Road America, Dennis Savretic was there to get the win. The last 4 races have been nothing but podiums for, here we go again, SRN's Scott McGarvey. No shows at Laguna Seca for Kevin Santana, in contrast with 4th by Autobahn's East Sheldon Rosenbaum, is responsible for those 2 swapping places. Finally, to the teams. For every other team, as they walk along, they wonder what went wrong. Because in the words of Dale Shannon, what we have here is a runaway. SRN, remember them? They have no driver higher than 3rd in any points race, but no driver lower than 5th. You see their names in yellow right there. Daniel Gralti, Ryan Huff, and Scott McGarvey. Lack of depth is what is the issue for everyone else. It's clear for Season 6, if you're going to win the championship, it's going to take more than just star power. Joe?
Wow, great analysis there from Bill on the points championship in all stages. Well, this track, Sean, you talked quite a bit about it, and some of its history and whatnot, but let's talk about the track itself and how this is going to play with the type of racing we have today, which is multi-class. Now, it's known for being a driver's track. It's often called very technical. What's that going to mean for 3 different classes out there?
Boy, it could get really, really interesting. I mean, big passing zones on this track are generally right there in turns 1 and 2, right off the start. You're going to be at it, struggling or fighting for position. Take your choice. Then you get all the way over to the hairpin. In turns 10 into 11, out to 12 into 200R. There is another good opportunity to pass, and of course, then there's the Casio Triangle, where you're going to get your last ditch effort, if you will, to make something work and try and win the race. You can get in trouble in those spots, though. With this multi-class racing, there could be hazard there as well. Like Degner 1 and 2, though those 2 turns are hard to get right in just about any car here at this track, and you probably don't want to try and fight for position there. You're probably going to look for guys to just worry about getting through there, keeping the car on track without getting off and all that runoff, all that dirt that's out there in between Degner 1 and 2. And then there's 130R. Boy, has there ever been a turn that's harder to get right than 130R? It's different in every car. Some are flat out, some not quite so much. Tonight, you're going to see a lot of flat out speed and some possible battling going in there. It's not one you want to go in side by side, but we see it often. It generally works out for one and not the other. Sometimes a couple cars can get through there and make it work all the way down the straight and right there into turn 15 into that last chicane there. Casio, but we'll see, Joe. It's going to be a mixed bag tonight. The prototypes are really going to have to be patient with their passing, or this could get messy.
Well, we've seen earlier this season at times they do not have that patience, and it has caused a lot of havoc and maybe caused a few problems for some of our typical dominant drivers that have slipped down the order in the championship. We have about 3 minutes left in qualifying, so why don't we very quickly get our audience up to speed on the Autobahn series if you've never watched one of these. This is round 8 out of 14, and as Bill mentioned, they have 2 drop weeks. This is an endurance race for them. It's 90 minutes today, and with them having a reduced fuel cell, you can expect about 2 pit stops. There is an incident cap to worry about as well. 36 incidents, which means if they have off tracks, they spin, they hit another car, they hit the wall, that racks up incidents. Eventually, if they hit 36, they will be disqualified on the spot. The car will disappear. They do have 1 fast repair, and that, well, we've seen that come in handy, Bill. The drivers have certainly needed it at times, but they also kind of need to pay attention to the weather. What are we looking at today as far as what the air is?
Well, we're in course Japan, 68 degrees Fahrenheit. Going to give this to you in Fahrenheit because most of our drivers are U.S. drivers. Track temperature, 72. And there you have it right up there. Actually, track temp is up to 80 degrees in your temperature now. You got a wind a little bit southeast, 12 degrees or 12 miles per hour. Humidity a little sticky, 34%. And no fog, so you don't have to worry about they can land the planes okay. Should make for good racing, pretty good traffic.
Well, and also our blimp and our helicopter can see.
That's right.
Yeah, we get nice shots up from up above. Now, Sean, this has been almost a wild season. As Bill mentioned, we've had so many different winners, and that's not just in the prototypes, but we've seen some newcomers come to the fore in the other classes as well. I mean, are we going to see maybe a win from guys such as Savretic before this season is over? He's getting well, we've seen a win from him, but do you think he can challenge Haley, I guess I should say?
Well, you know what? And that is the question week in and week out. Who can get to Bradley Haley? Listen, Dennis has been strong here this evening in practice and qualifying. He's made a very nice effort here to have himself right now sitting on the front row right there with Bradley Haley. We talked about this being a driver's track. I think those two will be the class of the field this evening, but maybe look for somebody, maybe a little Canadian influence that maybe Scott McGarvey's got something here, or maybe even a Ross Booth. Maybe the Canadians have Japan figured out this evening. We'll find out. And, then there's always Sheldon Rosenbaum, who's not got a great qualifying effort in, but could be a factor before this race is over. I haven't talked about Giuliano Romagnolo. Certainly he could be another Canadian that could be a factor in this race tonight in the GTD field.
That field is just about finished. The checkered flag is going to come out in just a few more seconds, and I believe drivers on their hot lap should be able to finish as we watch Miguel Meyer from Mama Jean Racing work his way towards that. And he's just got 130R and then the Casio Triangle to go. And he's going to elect to not finish the lap, though. Interesting. Dave Hill will, it looks like, as long as he gets cleanly through here as we ride on board the Ford. The TMC Racing machine hugging that inside, get the shortest run to the line. And as he crosses it, that is it for him as he smokes him up to halt the car. Everybody else finishing up. And while we wait for them to finish up here, Bill, I have to ask you about these prototypes. You mentioned how many different winners we have. That's really kept it close in the championship fight. Is there any favorite at this point? We're halfway into the season. It's hard for me to pick a clear winner.
No, there isn't. 6 different winners all season. The only one that's not here is the Brazilian driver, Costa, who's the time change. This makes it impossible for him to race. This is too late for him. Tinsey, Simonic, Young, all winners. Andra, Ulmer, they qualify 1 through 5. They're all up front. You got to figure Bob the Blade has the experience, even though he's the guy who's farthest down in the standings.
We are on board with Jimbo Pfeiffer coming through Spoon for Rainier Racing. The double aught as he climbs up the hill should have enough time to complete his final qualifying lap. Right now, he's sitting in 11th in class, it looks like. And that is in the GTLMs, running the Ferrari in that class. Sean, one of the things we've talked about in the GTLMs, I don't know if you know this or not, but figured I'd take a chance to see if you do. The Fords used to be known for being a little bit, and it looks like Jimbo's not going to complete this lap, Fords are known for being a little bit fragile. Do you think that's going to be a problem today? Do you think the curbs are going to hurt them, or do you think they got that fixed?
You know what? I don't think that's going to be a factor today. I look for the Fords to be very competitive here today at Suzuka.
And with that, qualifying is truly over. All the cars are off track. So let's go through our grid order. Up at the top, going to be Robert Tinsley, who grabs the pole. And how about this? Alex Simonik, he has unfinished business, even though he's gotten a win. This is going to be his last race of the season, sadly, due to school needs. He is going to be starting on the front row. Then Mike Young, he's one that is looking for a win. He's had opportunities, but they slipped through his fingers. He's going to be starting from third. He could get another chance today. Cy Andra, he started out so strong when he came, but he's had some problems recently. He's going to be starting from fourth. What can John Ulmer do? Had some recent frustrations, especially at Laguna Seca. Will be in the top 5. And then in 6, it'll be Alex Ellis from the green. Daniel Gralti starts in 7th. He's been very consistent this season. Let's see if he can gain some positions today. Mark Wilson starts from 8th, and Armando Edwards starts in 9th. Then you have Mark Schindel rounding out our top 10, and row 6 starts with Lionel Duprat in 11th. Mark Kudrowski will start in 12th. Chris Pence will start in 13th, and rounding out our prototype field bill is Steve Jones in the 14th spot.
Then we get down to row 8 on the inside in the GTLMs. In his Ferrari is going to be Jeffrey Ooms, Jason Girard in the Ford. Paul Darling and Billy Smith, both in Ferraris behind them. Stephen McGarvey, Ryan Huff, both in Fords behind them. Leif Peterson, Dino Topic, Dave Hill. Then we get down to a bunch of Ferraris. Miguel Meyer, Jimbo Pfeiffer, Samuel Scott, and Dale Green rounds out your GTLMs. Sean?
Okay, and in the GTDs, it's going to be Bradley Haley on the pole. Dennis Savretek right there with him on that first row there, 28th and 29th overall. Scott McGarvey, he's going to start in 3rd tonight. Kevin Santana in the 666 will start 4th. Ross Booth in 5th. Kevin O'Keefe in 6th. 7th, going to be Giuliano Romagnolo. Paul Lindsay, 8th. 9th, Sheldon Rosenbaum. Brian Bennett going to start 10th. Tim McLeish, 11th. Joseph Crawford, 12th. Sheldon Milosian in 13th. Matt Owens, 14th. Robert Sklenka, 15th. And rounding out the 16-car GTD class, David Tejada.
Guys, a lot of talk in the forum about how much space the leaders of the GTLMs and the GTDs need to give behind the other classes, whether they should pace it off the last car in that class or whether it should go at green. I think they've got it sorted out. The last couple races, though, some of the gaps have been huge. Some of them have been really small.
Well, we'll see what the gaps are in just a moment, as just about all the cars have gridded up. There you can see that very full field today. 44 of them out there, which is going to be quite a bit of machinery to have to work your way around no matter what class you are in. Roof Pace Car has peeled away past 130R. Robert Tinsley is going to lead them to the green. There we see the GTLMs were also taking off. They gave a decent gap, it looked like, Bill. And all we have left is the Casio Triangle. Then we go racing for 90 minutes here in round 8, smack dab in the middle of season 6 for the Autobahn Motorcar Group Sports Car Challenge. There we go, through the chicane. Waiting patiently is Robert Tinsley. Not racing for Talon Motorsports anymore, it looks like, with a new paint scheme on there. As he's waiting for the green to fall, and now he accelerates away, already getting a bit of a stack up there for second place. That's Alex Simonik trying to hold off Cy Andra, who's splitting the middle between himself and Mike Young. Already 3 wide down into turn 1, and a brilliant move by Andra to get himself into second. Let's go to GTLM.
Jeffrey Ohms brings him up to the line. He's got him bunched up. Now he gets on the gas. He jumps out in front. Following in behind, it is Jason Girard. Watch out for him as he's looking to make a pass there, going into corner number 1. Back in 3rd position. Oh, Billy Smith is up in 2nd. Sorry, Billy Smith up in 2nd. Girard down in 3rd. Girard is loose. No, it's Billy Smith is off. Billy Smith.
Meanwhile, let's go to the GTDs.
And Haley cuts them loose right across the commitment line there at the entrance of pit road. They're down the front straight, heading down to turn 1. Savretic got a car coming out of the pits there up in front. That's David Sockrider starting the race from the pit. Haley gets away, though, gets through 1 and 2. Dennis Savretic chasing Scott McGarvey there in third. Kevin Santana hanging on fourth place.
It's a good thing they left that gap because Billy Smith was able to loop the car, get it around, still get out in front of the GTDs.
Meanwhile, up at the front, Robert Tinsley already gapping himself by a whole 1.1 seconds. And Andra, he may have gotten the jump at the start, but now it looks like he's going to have to fend off all comers because Simonic is putting the pressure onto him for P2. They're coming up to 130R. If he can stay with him up to Casio, he's going to get an opportunity way off track into the green stuff from Mike Young, but he holds onto the car. No move for second as they're pretty much single file down into the Casio triangle.
There's a driver in this mix, racing in 6, Alex Ellis. He's been very competitive. He's new to the series. Keep an eye on him. We'll see how far he can work his way through the field.
You could almost say that Ellis has missed out on wins twice now, once at Road Atlanta and once at... Whoa, and Ellis going wide into turn 1. He could miss out again here unless he's careful. He gathers the car together and keeps it in 6th place, but not without a oops moment there into turn 1.
Guys, the Kraken is on the move. Giuliano Romagnolo already picking up a spot, getting by Sheldon Rosenbaum, putting himself up in 8th spot. Rosenbaum all over his tail, though. Heading down to 130R.
This is for 8th in class that he's moved up at the top of this train. That's Rosenbaum, Bennett, McLeish, Crawford, Woloshin, and Owens all right behind him. Any sort of mistake that could hand this right back. Coming onto the front stretch, everybody nice and clean. Having completed 2 laps now around this long Japanese circuit.
It'll be a while till lap traffic comes into play, but with this large field, when it does, I think it's going to be a big factor.
I'm pretty sure that too. Inside Andra, did Andra have a problem into Spoon? It looks like he did. He's coming back on track, but in the thick of the field as he's down to 10th in class, looking like losing another to DePratt.
Right in front of Alex Simonic. He spins off.
Let's take a look at this replay. You said it was in front of Simonic. Was this just driver error?
Yeah, I think so.
I think he had a little bit too much turf.
That looks like it, from that above view, definitely looks like it. As we come back live, Andra fended off DePratt successfully, stays within the top 10, but now he's got a whole lot of work ahead of him. Speaking of a lot of work, Simonic already 1.7 seconds behind Tinsley, but it was consistency that won him last time out at Laguna Seca. Could he do it again? Tinsley has proven fallible finally, Bill.
Tinsley leading another driver. We talked about Alex Ellis, the driver now who moves up to 3rd with the mistake that was made there by the who just spun off. It was Andra who just spun off, and that is Mike Young. Remember, he has a win under his belt too.
Young sitting there in 3rd in the number 14. Oh, and a mistake behind him. That's John Ulmer. And Ellis grabs another. We're used to seeing a few mistakes here and there from Ulmer, but this season it's been a rough one for the Big Cheese.
Look who the mistakes have hit, though. All veterans. Billy Smith and Ulmer having troubles. Of course, Ulmer certainly gets a lot of them.
Yeah, he's gathered it back together. He's only lost 1 spot behind the number 1 of Ellis.
Good news for Ulmer. He's a closer, and this is a 90-minute race. He's got plenty of time to make it up.
Yeah, but one thing he's notorious for is he does not like the non-American tracks as well. Now that we've left the American stages of the season, I'm wondering if he's missed his chance to gain as many points as possible.
There were rumors John had a little sake before the race to get in the mood. Maybe would get him familiar with Japan.
Well, oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say something we missed. You know, Kevin O'Keefe had a big problem sliding all over the place. He dropped 7 spots, guys. He got him back under him now. The New Jersey driver chasing Joseph Crawford now. It's gone all the way back to 12th after starting 5th in this field. Didn't damage the car, guys. He's in good shape. Just slid off course a little bit. Like I said, he's got it back under him now. He's bringing the fight here. Crawford got to watch himself.
Oh, and it looks like we had a problem with Alex Ellis. Sorry to cut away from this, but this is into the S's.
John Ulmer and him got together.
Ooh. This started into turn 1, it looks like.
Well, actually, Ellis, I think, had an off earlier, and then he comes back on track.
Yeah, exactly. Through turns 1 and 2 there, we saw on the replay as he returns, they're side by side, came very close once, and then the second time, there you see the results. Ulmer did a good job keeping that car together as they actually banged doors.
It was a safe return to track. It just put them side by side in a place where they're really not used to racing that way.
Sad to see that happen to Ellis as he was moving forward finally. We haven't given much time to the GTLM class by this point, and it's actually a relatively close race. Look up at the top, Jason Girard keeping Jeffrey Ooms under pressure, only half a second between P1 and P2.
The big mover in this one is Ryan Huff, who's racing 4th in class, 18th overall right now. He's up a couple spots. Of course, Billy Smith spun away. Huff having a good season.
This is one that I didn't notice before, and I'm not sure if this has been in recent races. I see a Bushfink Racing on Jeffrey Ooms paint. Has he been racing for them long?
Oh, he's gone over to the dark side. My goodness.
They keep getting top driver after top driver in that team. Ooms is a great catch. Meanwhile, as we ride on board with Ooms for a while, we were on Girard there looking backwards. Now we've got our leader, the number 97. You can see what the gap looks like. That has extended up from half a second now to about 0.86 rather.
Girard, the only driver to beat Ooms on the track this season. Well, I guess there's one off there where Ooms has some trouble. Really, Girard's going to be good.
He's one of the most experienced. He's raced in all the classes at this point. Yep. Has almost won in all the classes, too.
Yeah. Guys, we don't have to pick it up on the replay, but David Tejada found trouble in Degner, in between Degner 1 and 2, and he bended into the barrier there, had to come in for a pit stop, get some damage repair. Front end of that car really hurt. The Mercedes probably going to have to struggle his way through this thing. Well, he's got a ways to go. We've still got an hour and 20 minutes, just a little over that to get done here. So it's going to be a struggle for David.
I talked about teams needing depth. He's the, I guess, the third driver on Autobahn West. Autobahn West powerhouse team with Ulmer and Billy Smith. What they need is just for Tejada to chip in a few points. Not going to happen today, though.
Fans of Alex Ellis will be happy to know that he's gained one more spot since he went off track. He got by Lionel Duprat in the hairpin. That gets him into the top 10. Next up for him is going to be Armando Edwards.
Kind of in the same state of mind as the driver in 8th, Cy Andra, who's trying to get around Mark Wilson right now.
Miguel Meyer with a problem. Sorry to interrupt. Coming through Degner 2. The GTLM class. This is in 27th overall, 12th in class. And this is another driver error. We're seeing a lot of these out here. I mentioned, Sean, that it's a driver's track, but wow.
It requires an extreme amount of focus. I mean, could you imagine trying to do a 24-hour here? It's just insane. I mean, again, this track just requires so much focus, so many ways to get yourself in trouble out there. And, well, obviously he wasn't exempt to it.
There's the replay from onboard Dave Hill. Nice avoidance from the TMC Racing driver. The Canadian is continuing on in 7th position. Running the Ford GT out there. Nice mix of the Fords and the Ferraris. Same can't be said for the GTD class, which is, well, a whole lot of Mercedes.
Yes, it is a whole lot of Mercedes. You see Robert Tinsey on screen there just a moment ago. The yellow LMP making his way through the GTD class now.
Next up for Tinsey is Tim McLeish. McLeish in a battle with Rosenbaum. So this is what I was talking about. There's some battles going on that's going to be harder for him to get by. Well, I guess not if you bob the blade.
He weaves his way through the traffic, and just look at the gap that this is putting on Simonik. Oh, as he tries to go around the outside, thankfully is given enough room by Tim McLeish. That was awful tight, though, and easily going to be able to stream by on the straight past Sheldon Rosenbaum.
This is something we've seen in this series a lot. Drivers trying to stay with Tinsey as he knifes his way through traffic.
Next up for Tinsey is going to be Brian Bennett. Then he's got a bit of a battle on his hands in the form of Romagnolo and Lindsay. That might be interesting.
It really will. Romagnolo have been working on Lindsay here for 3 laps. This could be what he needs. A little help here.
He's going to catch them at Dunlop. Oh, but this is going to give an opportunity. Bit of car contact between Romagnolo and Lindsay, but they make it through Degner 1. Still tight. Now they're bottling up the second place HPD of Simonic. He gets by just before the hairpin. Oh, late dive there, though, from Romagnolo, just peeking his nose to the inside of Lindsay, and it's not going to come off.
Boy, Romagnolo really almost seems like he wants it now. He's got to wait. He's got to wait again for another opportunity. Make it here.
This is for 6th as we watch these 2 Mercedes GTD cars fight it out. Working their way through Spoon. This is where he needs that good exit, Sean, up the hill.
More trouble coming behind here. Here comes Mike Young.
He's going to get 1. I don't know if he's going to get 2. No, he's going to wait patiently. Nice job by Young to thread that needle. Ooh, I think he balked Lindsay a little bit in the braking. Down into the Casio triangle, caught him out, and squeezes them back together. Here comes the big cheese. Ulmer's going to now be able to get to the inside. He's trying to run away from Daniel Gralti, who's been hunting him down.
Behind Gralti, it's not that far. Cy Onder now up to 6th. He's made his way around Schindel.
I'm not sure if we were able to catch it on screen. Romagnolo had to go very wide through 1 to let that HPD through. Oh, and we got a car tipped. Who is that? That is Ross Booth.
Yeah. He was battling right there in the middle of that.
And that Ulmer tried to stick his nose to the inside. It almost looked like Booth did not expect him to make the move. Or was there contact? That was almost looked like net code.
Looked like a little bit of net code to me, Joe. Couldn't see the contact. Either that or Ross just started to slide coincidentally there at that same moment.
At about the same time that happened, Joseph Crawford turned into Kevin O'Keefe. Rutger Kev's coming back. He was optimistic how fast he was. Those 2 guys take themselves, they nose into the wall.
Oh, sad to see Rutgers Kev return with that, unfortunately. He's got a win under his belt in this series. Not a lot of drivers can claim that. Ooh.
Let's go to the overall lead. This is here it comes. Simonic all over him.
This almost feels like, Bill, that Simonic just needed that confidence that a win could give him, because this is a very different Alex from what we've seen in the past.
Yeah, to run down Bob the Blade like that, absolutely. So he's back now, only 0.3 of a second back, about 7 or 8 car lengths. Not that far back either. In 3rd is Mike Young. These guys have to hustle because Ulmer is back there. Andra is coming, as well as Alex Ellis. Long race.
Romagnolo finally got the advantage on Lindsay, and Bennett gets by Lindsay. So both of them get up a spot. Romagnolo up to 5th, and Brian Bennett up to 6th. Still dealing with some traffic coming through here. Oh boy, Romagnolo almost making contact there with Steve Jones as he was trying to get by.
Meanwhile, Chris Pence seems to be taking a very alternate route. I think he's found a different pit entry, and now he's finally going to work his way there. He had an off, I think, after 130R, and then just kind of took to the escape roads.
He got into the back of Sheldon Rosenbaum. He looped the car around, and then he was just kind of lost. Maybe it knocked his glasses off.
So we watch Jason Girard and GTLM currently in 2nd place. 2.2 back from Jeffrey Ooms. Continuing to keep him honest, but certainly not threatening at this time.
Now this is what we've seen from Ooms all season long. He gets out there, gets a comfortable lead, then he just starts putting in the miles.
Almost Vettel-esque the way he just gets out in front and dominates.
Really not a lot of change going on in here. Girard in 2nd, Darling in 3rd. That's pretty much how they gridded up to start. Again, we talked about Huff. He made it around a few, racing in 4th. How about this? Driver 19th overall, 5th in class. How about a little love for Dino Topic? Mama Jean, maybe a little bit past her bedtime. She's probably had her martinis by now. She'll have to watch this one on the replay, but Dino up there racing in 5th.
Another quick update. We don't have to go to it, but Ellis has moved his way into 7th now. He's gotten past Mark Schindel. It's been a steady climb forward for the number 1.
Yeah, it's Andra now and Ellis racing 6th and 7th. Maybe we can go to Andra right now because he's coming up on the back of Daniel Giralti.
Yeah, this has been a recovery drive for the number 24 as well, as we are on board Andra. Started out seeming like he had to grow into this series a little bit, but very quickly adapted, and it's gone backwards just slightly as he's made some mistakes at Laguna Seca and here, giving away opportunities for potential wins.
Beneath the overpass, getting into the hairpin here.
And continuing to hound Daniel Giralti. Giralti's been Mr. Consistency this season.
And I think they've been making time on John Ulmer. Look at Ulmer in 4th, certainly not pulling away from Giralti.
Well, remember
about him stalking, yeah.
Ulmer had that contact with Ross Booth. I wonder if he's got some damage. Might not be very visible, but these HPDs, known for being a little bit sensitive, they're coming up on Dale Green. That's the Ferrari that you see, and the GTLM class that they're going to overtake and put a lap on.
Look at Ulmer. What we learned about is when you're chasing somebody, watch how these prototypes will stay behind. If they get a chance, they'll stay behind Green because those slower cars punch a big hole. Andra going to try to duck in there as well. He gets in there before the triangle.
Nicely done, but doesn't help him get a chance to try and get by Daniel Giralti. That car we saw ducking in is Chris Pence again. He's already had one stop unscheduled. This is a second one, I'm assuming, is again unscheduled. Not exactly sure what is up with the Autobahn East driver. Meanwhile, Andra and Giralti are continuing to reel in John Ulmer, who sits in 4th. This is not just going to be a fight for 5th spot between these two, but a three-way battle just outside the podium.
Here's the way this may work. There is a fast repair. If Ulmer's car is damaged, he may want to play his ace early. As soon as the pit window opens up and he knows he can get done with one more stop, he may want to come in and get a fresh car.
As we watch this, I'm keeping half an eye on 6th place in GTLM because Dave Hill is hassling Leif Peterson for that. There we see that fight on screen coming out of Spoon Corner. Hill keeping himself at least within touch of Peterson, but Peterson has not given up the ghost on this one.
Peterson racing just outside the top 5.
Oh, and we might need to go back to our HPDs because Giralti is giving a big slipstream to Cy Andra now as they come up the back stretch. If he can just hold on to his tail through 130R, hard to do with the buffeting of the car ahead. He does it nicely, but he's just not close enough to dive in.
Now Ulmer has to deal with Joseph Crawford. As they go through the final corner, Ulmer gets a good run down the straight. I think these HPDs will probably go beneath Crawford. There's 1 and 2.
Look at it nice and clean, but more tenths have been chopped off of that lead that Ulmer had. He's going to get some chances to maybe separate himself with the traffic. They've got Meyer, Pfeiffer, and Scott all one after another.
I think Ulmer is happy with the cushion that is Daniel Giralti right now. Andra really quick. If Andra could get around Giralti, I think he could make Ulmer as well.
It's not just Andra gaining on Ulmer, though. Giralti has been pulling him in, too. Oh, and look at this. They're going to have to deal with a battle, though. Meyer taking a look on Pfeiffer just ahead of them. This is in the GTLM class. Sticks his nose in, thinks better of it. He's already been had a slight contact once with one of the slower classes. And look at how it's bunching them up. Can we see a pick here? Oh, no, and they turn around Meyer. It tips Ulmer around. All 3 HPDs skitter off track.
They're all done.
What a mess.
Oh, my goodness. Meyer almost got tipped by Duprat as well at the end of this. Let's watch this. This all started when there was a bit of a pick being used. And you can see that was Gralty that got into Meyer. Goodness, looked more like Keystone Cops.
Look there. That's what you call an octopus putting on his socks. A lot of stuff going on there. The big beneficiary out of that one, how about Alex Ellis? He scoots by them all.
And I can't blame Gralty too much. He was trying desperately to hold him back and did move to try and get around the outside of Meyer, just maybe a little bit too late.
And there you saw Ellis, that last prototype going through.
Well, that was a long time waiting. So, as you said, Young now third, Alex Ellis now fourth, Ulmer somehow fifth in all of that. But where is Cy Andra? Andra took a while to get going, so he's down in 10th. Gralty loses the most positions of anyone out of that and slips back to 11th. Oof.
I know those prototypes are fragile. Ulmer really banging up on all corners.
Credit where credit is due, though, Bill. There was a lot of chatter after the last race about keeping quiet if you get angry at someone. I didn't hear a peep from anybody after that incident.
And come on, you have a 3-car battle in one class and a 3-car battle in another class, all coming together in a technical section of the track. You know, they're not driving to the store for a gallon of milk.
Well, speaking of a 3-car battle, let's go back to 6th and GTLM. Leif Peterson, Dave Hill, Billy Smith, all close together, all fighting for position.
Remember, Smith qualified well. He had that off early on. He's been trying to work his way up since then.
Hill really in a sandwich. He's been working on Peterson for a while. We checked in on them not long ago. Hasn't made much inroads. It's Billy Smith who is on that recovery drive to try and regain ground that has really been squeezing them, trying to get them to make a mistake and see if he can get by.
Peterson, one of the veterans of this series, has not had great results. Best finish, I think, was a 4th early on in the season. Hasn't had much since then.
Great run out of the final corner by Dave Hill, but the Canadian runs out of track by the time they break for 1 and 2. Working hard. Oh, now they've got some company in the form of Alex Ellis. Number 1 has to sit and wait. They're through the S's. There's just no place to go through here. He gets one of them. Compromising Smith quite a bit, though.
Ellis has less than 2 seconds back to Ulmer, so he can't mess around here too much. Gets the next one. And slaloms through for that one. A little Jean-Claude Keely racing.
And almost nothing interrupted for those first 2. Behind them, is that Ulmer? That is Ulmer trying to come through now. Bit of a lockup there from Ellis down into the hairpin, smoking him.
Might be good to stay on this one for a little while, also because also coming through are Wilson and Schindel in a battle.
Haven't given those two a whole lot of love yet this broadcast, but not doing a bad job, sitting in 6th and 7th. And they started in 8th and 10th, respectively. So they're both on the move forward.
Both of the guys were in battles at one time or another with Andra and Ellis as they worked their way through. And, of course, now Andra and Ellis have had their issues. Might be seeing them again.
Ooh, Peterson's got to get a little bit more worried because Dave Hill is now incredibly close behind him. That Ford is eyeing that 6th position more and more. Was it Hill that we saw as he ducks to the inside to let the HPD of Schindel through? Was it Hill that had the...
Let's go to Matt Owens right now. And Jason Girard got into it. The second in the GPLMs. This was a long time happening.
Yeah, I was keeping an eye on them, and I had just gotten off them there, Bill, but you're going to see Matt's just going to get caught.
There was an initial bump that kind of ruined the momentum there for for Matt, and then Gerard gets caught up in it.
Uncharacteristically impatient Gerard, not what we're used to seeing from that driver, and that has sent him to the pits. That was a hard hit. We did have, I believe, a scheduled stop. I'm seeing a minute or an hour and 3 left. So I think Alex Ellis has gone in when he planned.
Yeah, I think these are good. Andra in also. These are probably going to come in and get some new cars.
And Dave Hill had a big problem as he was in a mess of traffic coming through the Degner corners. Got off into the dirt, and I think that may have lost him some positions. If not, it lost him a lot of time. No position lost, but you can see the gap now between himself and Billy Smith is quite large. And actually, we must have missed it at the point at which Billy Smith had gotten past Hill, which was before that incident.
Yeah, because Smith was the last car in that train in that battle with Hill and Peterson. Well, Peterson's still up. Look how Peterson has pulled away from those guys.
Absolutely has. Why don't we give a little bit of love to Paul Darling, who now finds himself promoted into second in the GTLM class.
Promoted is right. He hasn't passed anybody on the track. He had Billy Smith in front of him. He spins out. He had Jason Gerard in front of him. He spins out. So Paul Darling going to vulture his way up to number 2 spot.
Now the question is, when can he get a win this season? Because so far, I believe Darling's the only is still waiting on a win. Am I incorrect on that?
Yeah, Darling waiting on a win, unless maybe he can figure out some way to give Jason Ooms or Jeffrey Ooms some food poisoning or something. I don't know what's going to happen. Ooms does this thing in boy, he is comfortable. 8 seconds out in front of Darling right now.
Ooms definitely in his happy place, as he's been leading much of this season. I think you're right. Darling's going to have to hope for a mistake, maybe one of the other classes to get tangled up with Jeffrey. Something, because we know that Darling is fast. He is no slouch. So for him to be winless says something. Meanwhile, Sean, it sounds like you've spotted something in GTD.
Well, I've been keeping an eye on him, and that's Romagnolo and Bennett. And I'll tell you what, Bennett is starting to work Romagnolo over a little bit. Really starting to put the pressure on. Going to take a look inside here. Not going to take it there, but again, Bennett's turning up the wick here, trying to, I think, get Giuliano to think about it a bit, guys. Maybe trying to rattle him, get him to make a mistake. Bennett has been following for an awful long time. Might just wait until the pit stop here and then go for it. But again, a lot of pressure. They've been really close a couple times here, especially when the traffic's come through. It's really brought them together.
And Romagnolo has good reason to try and want to get this spot away. He got his first podium and only his second try last race. With him sitting in 4th in class, he could repeat that feat if he can just squeeze by, or if just get by the next car ahead, which would be Scott McGarvey. But he's got a ways to go to get up there.
Yeah, he does, Joe. Not impossible. Obviously, there's still plenty of time left in this race. Up at the front, though, Bradley Haley putting on a clinic here early. Savretek, though, not letting him just get away too far. He's kept it relatively close. And, well, the pit stops, you got to get those in, and they've got to be perfect. So anything, Savretek going to try and take any advantage given to him. This is try and make a little bit of his own luck, too.
That's a pass for position there as Haley drops down to 28th overall. Is that his Chris Pence? Oh, he's going to Chris. I was talking about he likes to wander around. Well, there you have another example of it.
A little walkabout here.
Yeah, so.
Chris Pence. This has not been his cleanest race, sadly, but he's still going. He's might be going for a Dory Award today.
Trouble on track for Simonic, guys.
Ooh.
Oh, he was trying to make a move on. That's Leif Peterson he got caught up with.
Check out the replay. Where did this happen? Looks like going into Degner. Wow, yeah, look at the cars scatter, though, in this replay.
That's Skalenka he got around the outside of, and then he tried to go on the inside between Peterson. Kind of like Odysseus through the devil in the deep blue sea. He just had to choose his poison. Didn't work.
Well, that cost him dearly because Simonic is down to 8th now. And who would have thought this earlier on? That puts Ulmer into second, but that is somewhat due to pit stops. He is going to go back down as he is in his stop right now. Bill, I know you like to point these things out. Look who's leading now. Armando Edwards, of all people.
There you go.
Not a driver we give a lot of screen time, but let's give him some now while he's in P1. I'm sure he'll appreciate that. Started this race in 9th, and just for a moment during the pit stops, he's going to have clear skies in front.
Doesn't want clear skies. He's playing for rain. He wants this thing to rain right now. Have this race called. We're not quite past the halfway mark, though, Armando.
Boy, him and about, 75,000 other subscribers would love to see it rain.
Soon. It's coming.
Hashtag soon. Yes, sir.
The highest driver to have pitted is Robert Tinsley. He got in and out of his stop. Very average time. Nothing really of note during his stop.
Bradley Haley coming in the pits, guys. The leader is in the GTD class. There we go.
Savretic stays out. Interesting.
Since we were giving love to Edwards, how about to Duprat as well? Second overall. Lionel?
Duprat's not been completely clean today, sadly, but he's getting himself up there at least. He's going to hand it over to Robert Tinsley, as does Armando Edwards, excuse me. In just a few moments, as we don't expect these cars to be able to go too far past the 1/3 mark. In fact, Duprat comes in now. Edwards comes in now.
I think it's safe to say the prototypes are the cars that have the smallest window of the three classes.
Typically, yeah. I think the heavy aero on those cars certainly doesn't help their fuel mileage. Ironic, since they're supposed to be endurance cars.
Yeah. We have seen earlier on, we had a 60-minute race where actually they had to pit twice for a splash and go. That one that Laura Costa was able to one stop and get his only victory.
No surprises on that one.
No.
Fast cars eat fuel, guys. Remember that, okay? Sheldon Wolosian bringing his GTD down the lane now in his box.
Wolosian is our AM Championship leader. However, I believe that is the closest fight we have in the 3 AM Championships down in the GTD. Only 6 points between himself and Owens. Meanwhile, as we watch Robert Tinsley, who is currently our leader, I know it says 3rd right now, but that will update very soon here.
Edwards and Duprat both came in to take their stops, so that's everybody in the prototypes. And almost nobody in the GTLMs.
Indeed, those guys still out. I'm sure they'll be coming in soon, but it's the GTDs we think will last the longest. Miguel Meyer, I'm seeing, is in and out of his stall.
Bennett's in. Brian Bennett just came in. We are starting to see the dominoes start to fall somewhat. That's going to put Romagnolo up to 3rd after the pit stop cycle around here. Romagnolo stayed out. Now he's right in the middle of here. Some traffic.
Speaking of Owens, a little bit earlier, he's in a fight with David Tejada. This is for 13th in the GTD class, a little bit farther down, but every point counts.
Right now, Tejada, Joe, is going to need another pit stop. He's already been in once. He picked up some damage on that car earlier and come in when he was in about 13 laps ago. So he's outside of that window. He's going to need to come in again. And obviously, he's charging on Owens here pretty hard. Owens was in just 3 laps ago on his pit stop, so he should be okay to the end.
You have to think that maybe Owens should let him by if he starts to pressure him too much, since this isn't really his fight to pick. Of course, he might not know that Tejada is on that different strategy.
He needs what we use here as JRT timing would tell him that, right, Sean?
Indeed, it would, Joe.
Little
Yes.
free plug for
Joe,
a software that we
yeah.
think is great.
We're keeping half an eye on the battle for 8th in the prototypes because Armando Edwards not too far behind Daniel Gralti. Gralti, of course, trying to move forward. We don't know how much damage he potentially has after his incident right here in the hairpin. And speaking of which, some cars off ahead of them. That was Dave Hill finding his way into the gravel yet again.
The Vretic is in, guys. So, got to pick up here on course. Find out where Bradley Haley's at here.
Coming up to 130R right now. Currently sitting in 8th, but with his stop finished.
It's a long stop for these machines, too. The delta's about 48 to 50 seconds.
As he comes around, Savretic still in it. Oh, no, actually, Savretic's coming out. He's just about to hit the line. There we can see from the above view. It's going to be a little bit close, I think, up into the first corner. Does he have the momentum? Savretic jumps him in the pit. We have a change for the lead for the first time this race in the GTD class. Wow.
Yep. All right. Well, Dennis, get on your horse, buddy, and let's keep that Tron machine up there up front.
Meanwhile, in the GTLMs, Ooms has come in for his scheduled stop as we cut away to them. He's now exiting out for that AOD racing machine.
Let me give you a little information on Savretic and Haley. Savretic was about a second faster in the box, but about 4 seconds faster from cone to cone. So it's not an issue of fuel. It's just a matter of getting on and off the pit lane.
Always got to practice that.
Just absolutely crazy here what Savretic's having to deal with right there. Oh, man.
Yeah, that was a battle for position between Andra and Ulmer that just squeezed by. That was Paul Darling, current leader in the GTLMs, who has yet to stop. And now he's got more cars coming through in the form of Mark Schindel now.
And hot on his tail. Bradley Haley.
Oh, Haley goes to the inside, makes contact. Car slides off to the outside, tries to keep it together. Haley pulls off. I think that was intentional from Haley.
Oh, yeah.
Boy, Haley just all of a sudden gets a monster run.
And I want to clarify what I said there. Haley slowing down was intentional, not the bump.
Yeah, that is a wag of the finger, tip of the hat type situation there. Wag of the finger for the bump, tip of the hat for the waiting.
Okay, hey, Romagnolo and Rosenbaum both in the pit at the same time, guys. That just leaves our leader right now, Scott McGarvey, is the only one that's still got to come in.
Running it long is Scott. He's been having a very consistent season. He hasn't finished off the podium since Sebring, and in the entire season, he's finished no lower than 4th, except for the first race at Daytona. That is impressive stuff. I don't know if he's looking at an overall victory for the championship because of the dominance of Haley so far, but he could finish within the top 3. Meanwhile, do we have a battle for second in the prototypes because Simonik has recovered.
Nick, we talked about this. Mike Young now up into second.
Way off the apex. He was so close to that gearbox, I think he shook himself. Has to regroup. He's going to get some time here as they climb up the hill. They get past the car of Robert Sklenka, or is he? Sticks his noses. Ooh, a little tight there.
Simonik about 0.4 of a second faster than Young in qualifying. Often qualifying is not a real good indication of how they race, but from what we saw about Simonik when he was racing with Tinsey, that car is fast. I can report that Ulmer, when he came in, that car was so banged up, he did get his free repair.
I'm not too shocked about that one.
Yeah. I would almost guess that Ellis and Onder probably did the same thing.
Scott McGarvey did come in, boys. That's the last GTD in, and Dennis Savretic is now getting into 130R. Got some traffic coming through here.
It's going to be Lionel Duprat squeezing by. Slows him up a little bit at the apex and allows his competitor, Bradley Haley, to reel him in.
McGarvey's rolling.
Now remember, we got a second stop coming. I wonder if there's a few guys maybe taking a short stop this first time.
He didn't beat him out, unfortunately.
He's still within range, though.
Yeah.
I'm seeing about 2 seconds between himself and the leaders, so Scott McGarvey getting himself closer to the leaders. If these two start battling, could we see an inherited win by Scott?
Looks like all the drivers' pretty relative pit stops are about the same, anywhere between 22 and 25 seconds. The guy who was really fast was Kevin Santana.
We're starting to see a battle potentially brew for 4th place in GTLM. This is 19th and 20th overall. Billy Smith closing on the back of Stephen McGarvey. Last season's GT1 winner, overall champion. Weirdly enough, though, as great as he was last season and the wins that he's gotten and the hard fight that he had, he has not won yet this season.
Well, that can be summed up in 4 letters, OOMS. But, yeah, McGarvey doing a good job. This would be, what are we looking at here? 4th in class, but Billy Smith, remember, had that early incident trying to run him down. None of these guys, well, let me apologize. They've all taken their stops now.
In fact, with the stops done, why don't we give a quick rundown of the top 5 in each of our classes, starting with the prototypes. Robert Tinsey hasn't had it all his own way. He's had some pressure, but right now he's pretty well clear as most of his competitors have run into trouble. Behind him in 2nd place, Mike Young, 8.5 seconds back, but still a good performance today by Mike. Alex Simonik has to worry about what could have been. He's going to try and get himself 1 more position higher. He's only half a second back from Mike in 3rd place. Then you go 1 more half second back, and it is a 3-car fight, if anything, for this podium, with Alex Ellis sitting there in 4th within touching distance. And then Cy Andra just has not been having a solid day. He sits within the top 5, but he started off so well off the line, and then it all went downhill from there. Bill, what's the GTLMs looking like?
We have Jeffrey Ooms out in front by a comfortable margin over Ryan Huff. Now, here's the deal on Huff. He might have short-filled his first stop. Now, don't be worried. I mean, you can take a lot the first time, take a little bit the second time, or do in reverse order. Ryan may have picked up a few spots just by short-filling. Paul Oh My Darling then has been relegated back to 3rd. He's got about 7 seconds on Stephen McGarvey in 4th, but that one is a lot tighter, only a second back, Billy Smith. Sean?
All right, gentlemen. Dennis Savretek is leading this race in the GTD class right now. Now, Bradley Haley is chasing, but you know what? They've still got another pit stop to figure this all out. Scott McGarvey having a great run, had a great pit stop right back there just about a lap and a half ago. Got himself in 3rd place. Brian Bennett, Kevin Santana battling for that fourth spot right now, as Bennett's got the edge, but don't look now, but Santana is right there. And we can't forget about Giuliano Romagnolo. They're in 6th, could very well be in 5th here at any point. He's been charging hard since the green flags dropped in this race. And you see in the back of the field, David Tejada coming in for a pit stop, guys.
Remember, he's off strategy.
Yeah, he is off strategy, but I don't think he can make it to the end here with this stop right now.
Let's go to 3rd in the prototypes, 3rd overall. This is Simonik. Here comes Alex Ellis.
He had a go at him coming into turn 1, but just didn't get his nose far enough in. And Simonik shut the door off into the AstroTurf there for Alex Ellis, but thankfully, unlike some other drivers, he's been able to hold it together on the green stuff. Still keeping the pressure on to Simonik. Last round's winner is looking to simply hold on to a podium as he has dropped off of the back of Mike Young.
Yeah, they don't want to battle too much, and I'm talking Simonik and Ellis here, because they're not that far behind Young. Young had just got around Dave Hill. Oh, I like the drive. Let's see what Ellis has here.
We saw him have a go last time into turn 1. Is he going to repeat the feat? And can he do it this time? If he is, he's going to close in. Defensive move there from Simonic, just sticking right in the middle of the road. A look to the outside, but I don't think it's going to be enough for Alex Ellis, so he has to settle for 4th.
Not going to get anything done as they go through the S's. Where's the next spot? Maybe as they go beneath the overpass down into the hairpin. Let's see if we can stay on this a bit longer.
Oh, look at him close in there. Wow, he was looking strong through the S's. Ellis potentially maybe having a little bit different setup, could be more wing in that car. Now they come through Degner 1 and 2.
Don't need to go there. Miguel Meyer just pancaked the left side of his car into the tires.
Ellis holding on, kind of scouting about, seeing where he's strong, seeing where he can get an opportunity. Unfortunately for him, doesn't seem like he's getting much where there's typically opportunities to pass.
Yeah, I think he's faster through the technical sections. If you can make the pass, he should be able to then take a run up there on the next driver.
I believe it was Ulmer at Sebring who pointed out that he liked to give it less wing because he figures so much easier to blow by them on the straights if you can hold on through the twisty bits. And I think that's what we're seeing here, as if they have that different setup. Oh, he's got to run now. Is he going to stick his nose in down to the Casio triangle? He thinks about it. Just manages to get by the car of Dino Topic, though. That was so tight. Inches between them.
That less wing strategy is great if you can keep the car on the track. That may explain why the cheese is a little slippery on his pizza.
Well, he keeps getting close, but we're also understanding that there is a battle for 4th in the GTDs here, I think.
It's the mother of all battles right now. Bennett is just being hounded by Santana. Now Santana is being hounded by Romagnolo. Oh, Bennett off track. Ooh. You see the damage on the left front.
That was a hard hit into the tires, and that just goes to show just about any car that you drive through these Degners is a danger. Can't get it wound up in time through the kitty litter and pays the price. As we come back live now, Bennett is very slow on course. Go ahead, Bill.
No, they're side by side. Simonic, he fends him off again. Ellis is doing everything he can. That was in the hairpin. He took a peek down in there.
Heading up towards Spoon. Ellis is very close yet again. He's threatening. He looks to the inside, playing psychological games now with the driver in 3rd. Alex,
I'm telling you, Ellis is taking 2 or 3 shots per lap on Simonic.
You have to think that if he can get by, he's going to be streaming away, but the problem is getting by.
There's been a couple chances when he had a run and there's traffic, and here's another case of it. Is he going to squeeze through?
3 wide down to the Casio triangle, now 2 wide. He had the inside of the first apex, can't get to the second one. Another rebuff from Alex Simonic, but he's not done yet. Is he going to stay to the outside? He's not going to fin him out this time. Oh, it starts to just weave a little bit to the inside, squeezes him, but I think he needs to know that the jig is up, because here goes Alex Ellis into 3rd place.
Woo. That was Stephen McGarvey that they went 3 wide. Good job from Steve, leaving room for both of those prototypes. Now, Alex Ellis can see you later and see if he can run down Mike Young, who's got 1.6 seconds up.
Ellis worked hard for that one, many laps in the making. And when it finally went off, it took a few corners to finally execute. So the number 1, having started this race in 6, has moved up 3 positions overall and could finish with a podium. He's only got to go 39 more minutes to take this one home.
But once again, we're seeing 3 drivers that are not on the top 5 graphic that I start the Countdown to Green show with. Robert Tinsey, not in the top 5. Mike Young, not in your top 5. Alex Ellis, not in your top 5. All running 1, 2, 3. Gotta love the prototypes this season.
So could see some shakeups in the points yet again. There's Robert Tinsey. Interestingly, though, I believe, I mentioned that he's not running that Talon Motorsports scheme. He's running that TNT paint scheme, as he's known for running for that team overall in iRacing. From what he was told me, I believe Talon is not going to be competing for teams anymore.
Yeah, I don't think Talon is with us this season.
Oh, P2 for GTLM.
I see Huff. That's Huff, and he's being chased. Here comes Darling behind him. They get around Kevin Santana. Santana leads them room. Now the prototype is Simonic.
Gets through there now as they head through the S's. Huff gets himself a buffer. He's going to lose out here because Simonic now squeezes through, and that gets the time right back. Darling, of course, was in second place for a little while. Wants to get it back from Huff.
This is a battle for position. It might be a little bit of a faux battle, as I talked about Huff sharp-filled on his first stop, so I think he's going to have a longer second stop, and maybe sooner.
Even so, it might be worth for him to fight, because you have to think, if you can hold that car back, that hurts their race. You could be on even a more level playing field later down the line.
Absolutely.
Meanwhile, John Ulmer, well, he's got a new rival this season that he's been fighting with. That's Cy Andra. He's been trying to chase him down. They're within a second of one another for fifth.
Taking a quick look at Andra's car to see if it's pristine. That looks pretty good. I know that Ulmer took a clean car.
We ride on board with Cy Andra, looking back through the gearbox at John Ulmer. They're going to hit the 130R here. And it looks like Andra's got some traffic ahead of him that's going to slow him up significantly. That's Romagnolo and Santana, and it does. Immediately, Cy Andra finds John Ulmer all over the back of him. They're going to split the GTD cars and get through clean, but as they come down to turn one, a defensive move from Cy Andra as he thinks that Ulmer's going to be aggressive. No move into the first corner. They can't do anything through the second.
With the points championship so close, these points are important. You go around Rutgers, Kev. Go ahead, Joe.
You have to wonder, though, Bill, with so many of the top drivers having had bad races, should it be a consistency game from here on out? Should you think long term?
That goes a little deeper than that too. Cy doesn't sit as well with bonus, but with drop races as Ulmer does. He's got to be real careful. Now they come up. It's a sock rider they're working on, and then this is Darling and Huff up ahead. So we have two of battles we were watching. It's going to be an eclipse.
Well, we've seen this sort of thing before in that very corner, and it didn't go well last time. They're going to get a little bit of a stretch before they get to Spoon. And Andra gets one. He gets two. Will Ulmer get both of them? Just barely nips through. Doesn't quite give the opportunity to Darling like he would want, though, unfortunately.
Now back behind in that other battle, Huff, the sock rider goes through. Remember, that is a battle for second overall. And I think Darling's got a shot at him.
Oh, that prototype was just at a horrible place coming through 130R, going the long way around the first apex. It switches back in his favor. And how about Paul Darling with a slick move with some traffic?
But he's in the tow. Here comes Huff. He's got to run. He's going to look to the inside. I think this is going to happen again in one.
Darling does not defend, interestingly. Side by side into the first corner. Very tough to do through there. It's marginal. Still side by side. Just barely an overlap through two. Nobody's giving an inch. Now they head into the S's. Eventually, someone's going to have to give way. And in the end, it's got to be Huff.
Now I think it's done. I think he's going to be safe as he gets around. Should be able to get around the Degners, get to the hairpin, and then put some distance between him and Huff. Nevertheless, great racing from both those guys.
Robust effort from Ryan Huff. Still a good finish on the cards for the Northwest driver.
Gentlemen, Kevin Santana has brought his GTD down the pit lane, getting his final service now. This is the scheduled stop. 17 laps on that last set of tires and fuel. Get ready to drop it down off the jack and head him back out.
There we see the Merc in pit lane. The 666 getting his service done. And then it should hopefully be clear sailing as he smokes him out of his pit stall and heads back out onto the Suzuka track. Boy, we watched a great fight between Alex Ellis and Alex Simonik. But how about Ellis and Young? Oh, and that one's getting broken up right now because Ellis is taking his final stop.
So much for that.
Well, you know what? I think this is a strategy call, Bill. Maybe he's thinking, if I can't, I don't want to try and deal with you on track. Let's just get it done in the pits.
I'm faster than you. I've been running you down. I can't get around you. I'll come in. Hopefully our pit stops are relatively the same time. I'll run some faster laps by myself. When it's all said and done, I'll get out in front the easy way.
Leader in the GTLMs, Jeffrey Ooms, takes his final stop. Paul Darling momentarily takes over the lead. Then we see our leader in GTLM, or GTD rather, Sorvretic ahead of Bradley Haley. Boy, we've talked about this in other broadcasts. Who is going to be the biggest threat to Haley taking away this championship? Sorvretic has been consistent. He's been fast. And every race, he's been closer and closer, more threatening. Well, it's no longer a threat. Now it's a danger.
It is. And I don't want to be cliche, but it's all going to come down to the pit stop, Joe.
Wouldn't doubt that.
This is going to sound like kind of a backhanded compliment to Bradley Haley, but he has been so fast all season. I don't know if we really got a chance to see him race much, if you know what I mean. He's been out in front. It'll be interesting to see how he deals with Sorvretic.
Well, so far, he's been outsmarted by him, but boy, that's a story that Haley is used to, with him having to face off with Costa last year. Got trounced in the pits almost every single race.
It was like they were on two different platforms, the way that Costa could manage fuel.
That's going to be painful if he gets beat on fuel again. Maybe some PTSD for poor Bradley Haley.
PTSD.
Meanwhile, Cy Andra comes in for his stop. So we're seeing our prototypes solidly get into their strategy window. He hits his stall nice and clean as he gets passed by the car still out on track, but he will be done and ready to go until the end of this race. If you're just joining us, we're now into the final 30 minutes of round 8 in the Autobahn Motorcar Group Sports Car Challenge, and that was a battle for position that we were watching there on screen. That was Edwards and Ellis, although Ellis has completed his second stop, Edwards had not.
But again, Ellis can't, we talked about the strategy, he can't afford to be stuck behind Edwards. He's really in a race with Mike Young, who's on the other side of the track right now. Ellis has taken his stop, Mike Young has not.
Yeah, and this is a horrible situation. This is exactly what Ellis did not want. I feel like it's only a matter of time before we start getting more F1 style calls on these pit stops, Bill, where drivers have someone or software watching to see, hey, you can pit now and get out into clear track.
Where your window is. Yeah, he is still stuck behind
but Mike Young made a big mistake into the final chicane. He cuts it. Is he going to come into the pits now? No, he does not. He stays out. Let's look at the replay here. This looks to be driver error. He was all by himself coming up into the Casio chicane.
Now, look, I get paid to commentate, but I also have to do a little assumptions here. I almost wonder if that's not a setting up your check boxes for a pit stop, making sure everything is right.
I would almost think that maybe he knows that Ellis ducked off to try and jump him in the pits. Maybe he was pushing a little bit too hard.
Well, that's going to make it a lot easier. Now, again, this all comes down to software. This is something Alex Ellis or Alex Simonik would like to know now. I'm sorry, it's Alex Ellis, where he stands in a relationship.
And look at this on screen. Savretic in, Sean.
Yes, he is coming. He's got a little bit of damage on that wing. It's out now. Tell you what, Bradley Haley stays out on track.
The plot thickens.
It does thicken, yes.
Well, he has damage too. Okay, we're thinking that this is not actually on his car. This could be on our director's end. Just getting misinformation from the server.
Now, remember, they did make contact earlier, so both of those cars actually may have. In fact, Bradley Haley's still on the front end of his car, has a little bit of damage on the front end of that Mercedes.
It was the nose
on my screen too.
It was the nose of Haley to the tail of Savretic. Savretic in there for 15 seconds in the box.
I wonder if that bent wing though meant that Savretic took his spare car. That could hurt him if he has an incident down the line.
And that would have explained what we just saw, and that was damage on that wing, and then it magically fixing itself there is that fast repair going into play.
Oh, and Mike Young has come in. That's going to hand over the lead to John Ulmer. No, it won't. John Ulmer is in.
I would
Kinsey
think
might re-inherit it.
Kinsey will probably get it, but the question is, will Ellis get all the way around?
That is the million-dollar question. There's the sixth-place driver, Alex Ellis, trying to get himself up into second place.
Could he have made that any scarier looking getting Bradley Haley there?
Haley, I know. Haley's I'm a leader, man.
Oh, Mike Young is out. He's past the pit exit now. He's accelerating away. Here comes Alex Ellis, but I think the traffic was too much. Look at Mike Young. He is well clear. So despite an off, Mike Young gathered it back together, got the laps in he needed, and holds on to second place.
Had to be lap times because their pit stop times were really, really close. So I think even with the spin, I think the time that Ellis was held up behind traffic cost him.
The good news for Ellis is he's got 26 minutes to run him down and pass him. Yeah. So it's not over, but it's going to be that much harder.
So Kinsey is our overall leader now. He's back out in front. Young and Ellis go second and third. That's how it was before the stop. Once again, the guy running long is Armando Edwards.
Yeah, I was just about to say. Oh, and we got some information that unfortunately I just missed. Ooh, and on screen apparently we saw that Mike Young lost quite a bit of time with the GTD car that he was trying to get past, and this has allowed Ellis to close it in to within 0.8 now.
As we look at this battle, Sean, I want to talk about your battle there. Haley has about, I'm looking at about a 37-second bogey time back to Savretic.
Right, yep. Just went a little over 38 seconds.
Yeah, it's going the wrong direction for Savretic.
Which is good news for the number 428 of Haley, although he's getting some traffic now.
A lot of it, Joe, indeed.
That's Brian Bennett up ahead of him. And I don't think he's going to get him on this straight unless Bennett lifts and lets him through, which he doesn't appear to be doing. And now he does it. A little bit of a late move, unfortunately, and now Andra to deny the apex of turn 2 for Bradley Haley, just not going the way of the Comet.
I see what you did there, John. It's good.
He needs to catch a bit of a break, unfortunately, if he wants to try and get this over him in these pit stops. That's Savretic. Savretic's all by himself, though. He's got clear track.
Boy, if I'm Haley, I'm seriously thinking about maybe just getting in here and getting this thing done. I estimate we've got about 13 and a half laps left.
And In the meantime, as we watch Savretic work that Tron car around Suzuka, here we switch back to his competitor, Bradley Haley. Been the main rival this season.
Sean, that interval staying about 37 seconds now for
Mike Young.
between them.
Mike Young spinning off track, guys.
Oh, no.
At a 130R.
After all that and the great job that he's been doing, once again, driver error. This inside curb, look at that. That happened just in the blink of an eye, Sean.
It did, man.
Well, he had Alex Ellis pressure him, remember? Young was able to get out of the pit stops first, but Ellis was right behind him, about a second back. So Ellis now moves up into second.
Good news for those who are upset about drivers going long and disrupting the order. Well, Armando Edwards and Lionel Duprat have come in and pit. That'll be the last of our prototypes that need to stop, but we still have a lot of GTLMs and GTDs who need to complete their strategy. I have to give a lot of credit to Ellis in this race. He's regrouped, he's composed himself, and while everybody else around him has been making mistakes, he's just clawed everything back.
9 seconds back of Robert Tinsey, but absolutely.
You know who we haven't talked about Tim McLeish in the GTD class at all today. You know, he's still got one pit stop left to go, but McLeish, all he's done is pick up spots. He's up 5 spots in class, sitting there riding 6th, just a second and a half behind Sheldon Rosenbaum. Tell you what, Tim McLeish looking possibly to get into this top 5 before this race is over.
Another thing, if I could point out as we look at McLeish, remember we were talking about Darling? He was in that battle with Dave Hill. Well, Hill now has fallen well back. Billy Smith has got around Hill as well. As Darling and Smith run 1-2, yeah, I don't get excited. They both need to pit. Jeffrey Ohm's still comfortable in 3rd. He's got all of his stops done.
Yeah, other than Ooms, the only of our top drivers to have completed their second stop seems to be Stephen McGarvey. Getting very close to the end, about 21 minutes left to go as we watch Smith put a lap on another GTD car. It's been an interesting race. It's not been the wildest one we've seen for Autobahn, but has had plenty of intrigue, and just as has been the typical race in the prototypes, you cannot tell what is going to be happening until the checkered flag falls on this thing. And we're going to see the points order switch around a little bit more yet again.
Tinsey, really the only one, got out in front and had a typical nice clean drive for him now with a 6.5 cent cushion over Ellis.
It's been a pretty atrocious season compared to previous ones for the 311 kart. Do you think he's still in this fight for the overall championship?
Yeah, halfway through. Yeah. He can go on a run, and even though the competition is tough, he could run the table from here out. So yeah, don't sell your Tinsey stock yet.
Meanwhile, battle for 5th erupting in the prototypes because Mike Young, his spin put himself back into the clutches of Cy Andra. Andra's got to be hungry for this spot. He's been really, it almost feels like just spending this entire race trying to pass car after car. Meanwhile, you may see on our screen that it says 9 laps to go. You can pretty much ignore that. We'll keep you up to date on the timed race.
20.
With 20 minutes to go. Thank you, Sean.
We just hit it, and I'll tell you what, I'm still keeping an eye on Savretic here.
Well, how do we know our software isn't correct? How do we know that it just hasn't done the math? Okay, it's making a prediction. I'm going with the software, 9.
Okay, all right. Okay. If you trust it. I know this is new software that we've got out there, so.
Go ahead, Sean. Sorry to interrupt.
No, all good, buddy. I'm right there with you.
We're still watching this battle between Andra and Young on track. This is for a top 5, mind you. So not the highest of points for Cy Andra, what he might be used to having gotten wins now, but still important since he is pretty high in the championship. I'm a bit sad that Alex Simonik is going to be leaving since he's been doing so well this season. He's got his first win. He's going to get another podium, it looks like, today. Ooh, a bit of a spin in front of him, trying to knock him off his focus. That is the car of Samuel Scott, who we haven't really talked about this race.
That was a nice spin, though. Put that off in the grass, through the sand.
Guys, I'm sorry, real quickly. Bradley Haley coming out of the pits right now. He'd gone in right next to Savretek going into 1. Savretek gets around. Oh, all kinds of traffic coming through right there. Sorry to jump in and knock you guys in.
I'm glad you jumped in. We had lost track of that battle, and look at how close it is between them. Just a couple tenths less in the pits, and that could have been Haley's lead as he gets lapped by the car of Stephen McGarvey in the GTLM class.
So why is Stephen McGarvey in this mix, you might add? Well, he's got Ryan Huff behind him for a position, so McGarvey can't hesitate here. He's got to get in here and huff with these guys. Even though McGarvey is racing for what would that be, about 5th in class.
Ooh, is this going to go back the way of Haley if he gets aggressive? No, he's going to wait patiently. Yeah. Gets his nose in a little bit through the hairpin.
And that's Ryan Huff back there in his Ford.
Indeed, and this is what Haley wants. He wants McGarvey to disrupt Savretik's apex. He wants him to get in the way, give him an opportunity. Still nothing happens. And something we haven't mentioned really, though, Bill, is how close these GTD and GTLM cars are on pace.
That's why they're having a hard time doing it here. Both of the drivers, Savretik and Haley, have drivers behind them. They're going to give them a hard time. Okay, here comes McGarvey. He's going to get that done. Here comes Huff. He's going to get that one done.
And things stay as the status quo. Oh boy. So they make it through 130R. Now they come up to the Casio Triangle, and we're stuck a little bit switched around to how we were before. What can Huff do in this? He's going to get a chance down the front stretch. He gets a clean run, but does that GTLM Ford have enough of an oomph? Oh, look, he's got to go back behind him into the slipstream. Sticks his nose in yet again. This is exactly what Haley needs.
There you go. Killed Savretik's entrance into 1 and 2. That's going to bring Haley right into it now.
Just incredible battle these two have had throughout the race. Now they're back together till the end.
John, they were separated. It reminds me of like ice skaters in the Olympics, where the guy goes one way on the ice and the girl goes the other way, and then they circle around, they come back, and they start spinning together, and that's where they... Oh, here it comes. Is this... Oh, this is a prototype. That's Tinsey going through.
That's Tinsey, yeah.
The Blade trying to get through there.
Again, this is a fight for first position in the GTD class with roughly 15 minutes left to go. If you believe the counter up in the left, that's 7 laps.
I mentioned Bob's name the other day, the Blade, and somebody thought I was a wrestling commentator. Soup. No, that's one of our race drivers that we follow.
Bob is well clear ahead of Alex Ellis by not as much as we saw before. It might be just taking it easy. It's about 5 seconds, 4.5 seconds I'm seeing now. Now we see where he earns his name. Squeezing through as Stephen McGarvey and Giuliano Romagnolo go 3 wide down the backstretch and somehow come out whole.
Don't need to go there. I can report, though, that Darling came in, took his stop. He's fallen back to 3rd. Ohms has inherited the lead where he belongs. Dave Hill, our last GTLM to pit.
Scott McGarvey is rolling from his pit stop. Here come the leaders. They're going to get right on past him. Scott gave it a good shot, guys.
Still, he's going to come out in 3rd because now that Romagnolo has pitted, and I believe, oh no, Rosenbaum is going to continue on, and he still needs his stop. Even still, he's well ahead of him. So Scott McGarvey going to get another podium. And let's see. I pulled that stat out earlier. Let me pull it up again.
Just to clarify, go ahead.
I was going to say that this will continue his trend of finishing on every podium since Sebring.
Really a change, because last season his brother Stephen McGarvey actually won the GT1 championship. I think there's a deal. The brother who finishes the lowest in class has to buy the pizza right now. Stephen's sixth. Make the phone call, Steve.
Well, did they put Canadian bacon on that pizza?
They do.
Had to go
there.
Low-hanging fruit.
Let's jump back to that battle for 5th, because Andra has not given up on Mike Young. Hasn't gotten past him, though. I thought this would be a little bit easier of a pass for Andra. Guessing that Young maybe didn't get as much damage as I would have assumed from that spin. He didn't actually hit anything, did he?
No, I don't think so. And we're looking at Young in 5th. Let's go ahead. This is pretty amazing. We were talking about pizza. How about John Ulmer, the big cheese? He's worked his way up to 3rd. And I think he's done. I think his pit stops are done. I think he's good to go.
Ooh, that smoke that we saw in front of them was a bit of an interesting maneuver by Dino Topic trying to get past our GTD leaders. Almost took out Dennis Svredic.
There goes Ulmer. He gets all 3 as he gets around Topic.
Man.
How these guys keep track of all that's going on around them and not wreck. It's amazing these series are as clean as they are, but Svredic stays in 1st. Haley still trying to chase him down. And I know we've talked about how many Haley has won this season. You think, oh, well, he's got this easily. Well, as many as Haley has won, Svredic has been right there behind him in 2nd place.
That was Simonik going through.
It's going to be nothing easy about trying to get past Svredic here over the closing laps of this race.
Yeah, and I mean, all Svredic has to do is keep winning these races ahead of him, and he can pass Bradley Haley, because Svredic has just been phenomenally consistent this season.
These guys are like playing one-on-one basketball in the Target parking lot. They keep having the race, but they keep having to get out of the way of the prototypes. Now, here come 2 more. Let's see, that's Young, and then Cy Onder. That's a battle for spots.
See, I always pictured it like Wayne's World, playing hockey in the street.
I don't know, that'll work.
Having to call car.
Yeah, but they're not paying attention to the car right now. They keep playing hockey. Young in 5th, Andre in 6th. That battle in the prototypes. Svredic, the leader. Haley with a run. No.
Well, in the meantime, we're on board Mike Young because we're watching this fight. Oh, and they've got some traffic that they're coming up on. That is Dino Topic that they've got to slide by. Speaking of sliding, Mike Young barely makes the corner, and only because of the traffic does he hold on to 5th position. He is thanking his lucky stars for Dino. 11 minutes left on the clock now.
Don't need to go there. Dave Hill finally made his final pit stop in the GT-LMs. He was up to 2nd. He'll fall back considerably. Well, let me correct myself. I think Hill's going to come out in 3rd. I think he's going to get out in front of Peterson. So Dave Hill's got that done.
Man, you talked about the mantra and his dominance. Well, I'm looking at that gap. If I'm seeing correctly, 21 seconds ahead of Paul Darling, of all people.
And Darling, that's 21 seconds, and Darling's had a pretty clean race. I mean, that's just going.
That is wild. My goodness. I'm flabbergasted at just how fast Jeffrey Ooms is.
That's why Bushfink wanted him.
You think?
Yeah. I gave Bushfink a call. They said, yeah. We'll let you know. Don't quit your day job, is what they said.
Well, there's Paul Darling. Give him some screen time. We can't take anything away from him because it's not been a bad race, as you mentioned, from him. He's got 13 seconds on the next car on the podium, Billy Smith. So even Darling himself has been booking it. TNT Racing car is looking nice and clean. Meanwhile, let's get back to that battle between Andra and Young. They've got more traffic once again. That's Billy Smith, who we just mentioned. They're going to get cleanly by, and they're going to come up to turn 1. Now down to 9 minutes left on the clock.
Oh my, coming out of the Casio Triangle, Bradley Haley I think he missed a shift.
I think
He's
so,
lost
too.
a ton of time. Do you think that's what happened?
I think so. I think he had a bit of a bobble there in the Casio Triangle, and it's allowed Savretic to kind of open things up just a little bit for the first time, basically, since Savretic came out of the pit stop. This is the most distance he's been able to put on in between the two.
Oh, we need to go to Cy Andra. He's got to run on Mike Young coming out of Degner 2. There's traffic that offered the opportunity. He has to go the long way around of the hairpin. He could get an over-under if he wants it. He does get a good launch. He's within the slipstream. This is flat out all the way up to Spoon for these cars. He could take a look to the inside if Mike Young doesn't cover it off, which he's not doing right now. Now he weaves to the inside a little bit, back to the racing line. But it is on as Cy Andra starts to hound the number 14 of Mike Young.
This might be a difference in setup because Andra's car just doesn't seem to get him. Now he's got to run.
Up to 130R, looking to go too wide through here. Both of them managed to get through, and Cy Andra loses out on the game of chicken. I'll have to find out where each of these guys are from. Racing from the New England club. There's a few rivalries up in that area that I could see through quite volatile, I could say, Sean.
Yeah, very well could be, Joe. Some pretty feisty people in the New England area. The greater New England area. Excuse me, let me back up there.
Still holding on to the back wing of Mike Young. They're coming up to Brian Bennett now in the S's. Could this provide an opportunity? Could Mike maybe stretch away from Andra? And he does a bit. Andra a little bit more timid to try and get past the GTD machine.
Oh no! Savretic spinning! Savretic spinning! Oh! In turn 2!
And this time, it was not through contact from Bradley Haley. This time, Dennis Savretic, driver error, holds onto the car and barely does Bradley Haley squeak through. Look at this.
I thought he was going to drift it through. And he right there loses the momentum.
I believe at the same time, did Cy Andra have a spin?
Oh, he must have. He must have.
Almost at the exact same time.
This is starting to feel a little bit more like a CMS race here at the end. Once again, oh, the traffic. Oh, no. And who was that he got into?
That was Matt Owens.
Matt Owens. I remember Owens is fighting for that AM championship. Is Woloshin actually here today? Yes, he is. He's still ahead of Woloshin, so he's still safe. But that is not what Matt Owens wanted right now.
So Sean Haley couldn't get the pass made, but he got to the lead, huh?
Yeah, buddy, he sure did. And Savretic now continuing to drop now 4.6 seconds back. Boy, this with just a little over 5 minutes left to go now. Just about to hit that 5-minute mark. It's going to be really tough for Dennis to make that up. Obviously.
It's going to be hard to sleep tonight.
Yeah.
That's a tough one.
Well, and you know what I was thinking before that incident happened, Sean, too, was just, even though there's no passing, that was an intense battle. I don't know how many of our viewers understand what it feels like in the car when you're that close for that many laps.
Well, I mean, you know how good the guy is behind you, right? I mean, you know that. And you're doing everything within your power to stay in front of him, driving it on the edge and trying to maintain your focus. And boy, just one little lapse like that. It's like I said earlier, think about doing a 24-hour race here and what that would actually involve. Trying to...
Let's look at 22nd overall. This is Pfeiffer. And remember this guy, Jason Girard, trying to get this spot. This is for well down the order in the GTLMs. Talking about a Dory Award, Joe. He had a mistake early. He was racing in second, Trace Ooms, and has been spending the whole race trying to get the spots back.
Indeed, he had contact with another car in the S's, and that sent him to the pits. This is for 9th in the class. Wasn't able to get it done. Knowing what I know about Gerard and his love of Japan, I think he's going to be extremely disappointed with today.
Steve Parnelli-Jones is coming out of the pit lane. We haven't mentioned him today.
Boy, we really haven't, have we?
Sorry, if your last name is Jones and you have a middle initial of P, it's just like... That's like
what did you find out the Parnelli stood for? It was a nickname, wasn't it?
Parnell, I believe. Wasn't that?
Yeah.
Yes, it was. Yep.
Third place in GTLM is up for grabs. Stephen McGarvey's been hunting down Billy Smith. The number 901 is not safe, even though he's got 3 minutes to go. Two drivers who have won championships within their classes in this series before. Billy Smith having been the one who has waited the longest for his second one. Stephen McGarvey on his first. Not looking like he's going to be able to reclaim his crown, though. But both probably hungry.
Seems like I was a lot skinnier and had a full head of hair when Billy Smith was dominating caddies. Remember when we first started covering?
I don't know how much I believe that one.
2.5 minutes, guys. 2.5 minutes to go here.
Indeed, and Robert Tinsey running laps at about 144. He's going to cross the line, get 2 more laps.
It looks like our graphic's going to be off by 1 lap.
It fixes itself right as Bill
jumps from 4 to 2.
Oh, and Alex Ellis.
Oh,
After such a good race. What is this about? Did he not get his fuel right?
stop number 3.
Bill,
Now,
as soon as you take your tinfoil hat off, someone doesn't get the fuel right.
First 2 races of 2018, they were calling me Chicken Little when it came to fuel strategy because I was saying, the sky's falling. He's going to run out of gas. He's going to run out of gas. I said I wasn't going to do it. Alex Ellis, it happens to him.
Oh, and we missed a pass because Billy Smith got Stephen McGarvey. Let me see if I can figure out when this happened. This was recent. This was into 130R, actually worth going and looking at.
Wow, and it took a long time too. You know, Smith went a little bit wide out of Spoon.
But look at that.
And they were side by side.
Around the outside through 130R. That is Alonso territory. Wow.
Look at how evenly matched the Ford and the Ferrari are in that straight line speed, though.
But it's the prancing horse that came out on top ahead of the blue oval in this case. Billy Smith gets himself onto the podium, fends off for the podium, rather.
Follow up on Alex Ellis. He's going to drop down to 5th behind Simonik and Young. Look at this. John Ulmer now up to 2nd.
Yeah, the help there by the extra pit stop from Alex Ellis. Returns in 5th place. That means Mike Young gets 1 more spot into 4th, but not much more could happen, although I say that. We'll watch and see once the checkered falls, as Robert Tinsey is on his final lap. There you see John Ulmer in 2nd. Who would have thought? Everything just is topsy-turvy in AMG SC. You think you know how it's going to end.
Yeah. John, I apologize. Whoa, and going off that is Simonik. This is a battle for 2nd.
Well, that's going to cost Simonik quite a bit of time, having cut the course. So he slows it down.
I was just about to apologize for Ulmer to not cover that charge through, but it was just this kind of got out of the way for him.
Meanwhile, out of the hairpin, Robert Tinsey. Haven't given him too much screen time. He hasn't been completely alone. He got challenged a few times throughout this race. But at this point, he's mostly just been managing the gap. And as soon as Ellis pitted, it was a done deal practically. He's got 15 seconds over the big cheese. They are the old rivals in this series. They fought each other many, many times. As he does his traditional run through the support pits. But Robert Tinsley, like he's done many times, is going to lead John Ulmer home through the Casio Triangle for the last time as the flagman pulls out that black and white piece of cloth, and Robert Tinsley is going to take the win to get his championship charge back on track. Up next,
that'd be Jeffrey Ohms.
Yep, indeed.
Just working his way through 130R right now. Just has the Casio Triangle and the right-hander. You got it, Joe.
Yes, just this one more corner to go, nice and smooth as he's done all race long. At the end, it's going to be 25 seconds between himself and the next car. A crushing victory by the Mantra, showing them how it's done. Well, Bradley Haley is not out of the woods because Dennis Savretic is still within about a second and a half.
He is. He's lurking. He sends it in deep into the hairpin.
Wishing hard to try and reel in the Comet.
Yeah, Haley gets a great exit, though, out of the hairpin.
Half the lap left to go here for Bradley Haley. As long as he can hit his marks, keep the car together.
Ooh, a little bit rough there at the apex for Haley. Out of spoon.
Not much more to go for him. Can he hold it together just that little bit longer? He's been on a streak lately. He's got a hat trick of wins. Can he make it 4 in a row now? Coming up to some traffic that just peels off the course. That is Ross Booth getting out of the way, completely seeing this battle for the lead. But it's going to go to Bradley Haley for yet another win in the GTD class here in Japan.
Boy, and Savretic is, like Soup said, he's going to have trouble sleeping tonight after that one.
I think Savretic had him. I think Savretic was actually faster. He let that one slip away.
He had him pretty well covered, I'd say. But after that, we're going to go to break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. But stick around because on screen, you'll see all the upcoming races here on GSRC. Welcome back to Suzuka Circuit here in Japan. We just finished watching round 8 of the Autobahn Motorcar Group Sports Car Challenge. And it's like old times. Robert Tinsley takes the win. And in second, it's John Ulmer. Well, they didn't seem like they were going to finish there, at least for much of the race, but things switched around quite a bit. Alex Simonek including, as he was up to second for much of the race, but couldn't survive the chaos himself. He finishes in third. Mike Young comes home in fourth. He was up to second at one point as well. Alex Ellis, a late race pit stop, scuppered his hopes for a P2. Cy Andra manages to come home in the sixth position, with Mark Schindel finishing in eighth. Then Daniel Gralti, who was farther up, but unfortunately a big incident involving multiple HPDs and other cars and himself sends him back to eighth in the end. Armando Edwards finishes in ninth, with Lionel Duprat coming home in 10th, Steve Jones in 11th, Mark Wilson in 12th, and David Sockrider rounds out our HPDs that finished in the 13th position. Bill?
As I might to wax rhapsodic about Jeffrey Ohm's win, it was pretty typical. About a 20-second plus win over Paul Oh My Darling. Darling did have a nice run, though, as he picks up several positions to get that number 2 spot. Stephen McGarvey, former champ, comes home in third. Billy Smith was fast, had a spin, spent the entire 90 minutes trying to make up for it. He gets fourth ahead of Ryan Huff, Dino Topic, Dave Hill, Leif Peterson. Jason Gerard comes home, and as we see there for Gerard, as we get to that in 22nd overall. Then we get down to Jimbo Pfeiffer, Samuel Scott, and Dale Green. Sean, how about the GTDs?
Well, I'll tell you what, could have been Dennis Savretic, but it wasn't tonight. It was Bradley Haley once again in victory lane. Dennis Savretic on the podium there in second. Scott McGarvey, what a race, man. Third place on the podium again for him. Giuliano Romagnolo, boy, that was a hard-fought race for him. He does finish fourth. Paul Lindsay, great drive today for Paul. Fifth place, you've got 3 Canadians there in the top 5 and 1 Texan sitting there in 6th. Sheldon Rosenbaum with a good run today. Tim McLeish finishing 7th. Kevin Santana 8th. 9th going to go to Ross Booth. And then you got Brian Bennett a lap down in 10th. Kevin O'Keefe going to be a lap down in 11th. Robert Sklenka and Matt Owens all finishing 1 lap down there. And then you've got a few guys who didn't make it to the end. Sheldon Wolosian, David Hada, and Joseph Crawford round out the 16 GTTs that competed here at Suzuka today, boys.
First up on our interviews, we have our winner in the GTLMs, Jeffrey Ooms. So let's pull him in and talk to him about how his race went out in the front, because it sure seemed like there was not many other cars to worry about for Jeff. Was it pretty much smooth sailing for you all race?
Anything but, actually. Traffic was pretty difficult here, I must say, just because it's mainly a kind of a one-line track with the high-speed swooping corners and what have you there. It's a little bit difficult with the GT3 cars. I did make contact with one. I don't know who it was, but I have to apologize for that because he was just trying to let 2 prototypes and me by, and I kind of just clipped him. I think he went spinning off, and then I had to make my second pit stop early there, though.
Now, we noticed you have a Bushfink paint on your car. How long have you been with the team?
It's been probably about 4 or 5 months or something like that now. We were just doing the Clan AOD paints, and then but me and Simonek had a talk, and we just figured we kind of just run ours from here on out, because I think this was his last race because he's doing some schooling and whatnot, and then I just figured I'd sport the new banner now.
All right. Well, we definitely took notice of it, as that is a very fast team and you're a very fast driver. Do you think this is a particularly strong track for you? Because 25 seconds at the line is pretty impressive.
I do like this track. Once you kind of get into a rhythm, and it took me probably about 4 to 5 laps. When I did some practice, I couldn't even do about 3 laps without spinning into turn 1 there. So I took it easy off the start, and then kind of just slowly built up the speed as I kind of got going there, and then warmed the tires up, because right off the start, the setup was super loose too. But then I don't know what happened to Gerard after that. Because I pitted and took tires, I saw that I had about a 10-second gap, which would have probably put me about even with him if I took tires. So I figured I'd have a good advantage. And then when I came out of the pits, I didn't see him after that until the end of the race when I kind of saw that I was ahead from everyone. So I figured that maybe he pulled some magic out and he was way far ahead or something like that. So.
Yeah, it was an unfortunate incident that saw Gerard slip out of it, especially since we know that he loves Japan as well. But thanks for coming and talking to us, and congratulations on another victory. This is looking like it might be a romp to the crown for you this season.
I hope that we can keep this going. It's definitely been a pretty good run, and I couldn't have asked for anything more than this. This is pretty awesome. So thank you, guys.
That was Jeffrey Ooms, winner in the GTLM class. Up next, we have the winner in the prototypes. That is Robert Tinsey, and he's talking to Bill about his race.
Bob, you stepped away for a few races, came back last round and picked up at Laguna Seca, picked up a third place, got right back into today with the win. How'd it go?
That was pretty clean, surprisingly. Everyone did a really good job on such a tight and twisty track, so I was very impressed. My hat's off to everybody else.
Now, some of the guys behind you there left you alone, but you had Alex Simonik real close to you early on.
Oh yeah, he's gotten really good. So yeah, he's a real threat. It's a real shame that he has school coming up, so he won't be able to participate. Hopefully, he can kind of walk out of class a little bit early and sneak out.
Well, you'll have no clue about what went on behind you. There's hardly a guy that didn't have trouble back there. Let's talk about the competition, though. Of course, you got Ulmer. I wrote him off. He was well down the list. He shows up behind you. You got Simonik, Young, Ellis, Andra. It's lucky. I don't know if Jason Gerard was with you. There'd be no room for all the talent in there.
Very, very true. Yeah, I really had no idea what was behind me. So I just kind of, was trying to manage the pace and just try not to spin. It's very, very tricky going into turn one on worn tires. The rear end really wants to loop. So, yeah, just concentrated on my race and, paid attention to me.
We'll get you out of here on this one. We appreciate that last lap pit stop little trip you take. That's always fun.
I like it. It's just a little, a little nice. I don't know. It's just a fun little thing. Thanks a lot, guys.
It's the Tinsey. Congratulations. Good job.
Thanks. Have a good one, guys.
Joe?
That was our winner in the prototypes, overall winner as well, and Robert Tinsey. And then we have a driver that wasn't as dominant. In fact, had to fight very hard for it. Bradley Haley is going to talk to Sean about his race.
And yes, then there was Brad Haley. What a race, man. It looked like Dennis had that thing wrapped up, and boy, then opportunity just opened up for you there, didn't it?
Yeah, it was close. When he came out of the pits the first time and had the lead on me, there just was no place to pass. And then with the traffic, the HPDs were coming through whether you were moving or not, so it made it difficult.
Yeah, the HPDs were definitely buzzing. That was probably one of the stories of the race, was just watching you guys try to avoid them. But you listen, you've been a dominant force this season. Savretic was giving you everything he had, and really looked like it was his race to win there until, like I said, he had some misfortune. But Brad, what we talked about how difficult this track is and how it's a driver's track and it requires a lot of focus. What's the key for you? What makes you so fast and so hard to beat for the rest of the field?
Well, today I should have been beat today. There was I was really worried when he came back out because I just spent 10 laps behind him and knew that there was no place to pass, so it was going to have to be in traffic. And I think I was a little bit faster in a couple sections, but other than that, I couldn't pull anything on him. So he had the upper hand for sure, and I was kind of upset that he had that half spin because I was looking forward to a battle. But practice, that's just putting in the laps, yeah. And I use VRS pretty religiously now, and can follow my lines and really just, that's my education, really.
Well, one last question before I let you go. Now, there was in the closing laps, you're trying to catch him there. Did you miss a shift there on the Casio Triangle? You'd lost a lot of time to him there. It seemed like there with, I think, about 4 or 5 laps to go. What happened there?
I think I got a wheel caught off the track, and it kind of kicked the rear end out a little bit, and I had to get out of it. And
You had to catch it. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Alright.
that almost lost it.
All right. Well, glad you didn't. Wonderful race this evening. Really fun watching you guys. We'll look forward to seeing you here in a couple weeks.
All right, sounds good. Look forward to watching the broadcast. Thanks, guys.
Congratulations, Bradley, Haley, and boys. Who we catching up with next here?
We're going to talk to Alex Ellis, who was oh so close to a second place finish in the prototypes before a pit stop at the end seemed to pull him out of that possibility. Alex, we have to ask, was it just simply a miscalculation on fuel?
Yep, it was. It got me.
Now, you were one of many drivers who were up and down the order in terms of positions all throughout the race. We saw guys come and go. What was it like from your perspective as you worked forward and eventually found yourself in second place?
It was really interesting. We didn't prepare for this race as much as we normally do. I work closely with Syandra, but our setup wasn't quite as stable as we're used to. So it was really hard to get into a rhythm. But I think based off of the mayhem elsewhere in the race, everyone was kind of having the same problem where you'd make a little mistake and then work to get back into it. But other than the fuel calc, it all came together pretty well.
And we're sticking around and going to Motegi here in Japan. Some drivers don't seem to be very fond of that track. How do you feel about it? Are you happy we're going there?
To be honest, I haven't done too many laps there, but I think that's pretty widespread across the board. And I tend to learn tracks quite quickly. So I think it actually could work to my advantage that it's a more unfamiliar track. But I guess we won't see it until we get there.
All right. Well, again, commiserations on what could have been a little bit better of a finish, but still, you gave us quite a show today. Thank you.
Thank you.
It was Alex Ellis, who today, in the end, came home with a top 5. That's it for today, though. I think we're going to close up shop. And, of course, we want to thank the Autobahn Motorcar Group for their sponsorship of this series that they have since the start of it and have been giving us a great show. Thanks to John Ulmer and all of his team that does all the organization for this series to keep the gears turning. And of course, thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcasts that are listed on your screen. A very special thank you to the Apptioneer.in team. They helped us out with some new software that we were testing out today. Additional thanks to Eric Ekholm and Casey Lalonde who provide us with our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get hold of more of their great work. Of course, thanks to the team today, Bill, Sean, Amjad, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com, or you can check out our social media on Twitter at GSR Channel or Facebook at /GlobalSimRacingChannel. The next race, we mentioned it, we're going to Motegi, just hopping over a little bit on the island here. That'll be Monday, January 22nd at 9:15 p.m. Eastern. Don't miss it. This series tends to put on a really good show at that track. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. However, until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.